Hello, Professor. This is our video journal number 2. My name is James Wyma.
Jesse Ibarra.
And here it is.
Okay, theory number 1, symbolic interactionism. Okay, so symbolic interactionism in the book is how symbolic interactionists examine how labels affect perception and create prejudice. An example could be teenagers smoking cigarettes. They know that it's bad for them, but socially it is cool, so they disregard the fact that smoking is bad and they continue to do it. Symbolic interactionism.
Awesome. So, functionalism. What is it? The functionalist perspective can be traced back. It was actually created by Emil Durkheim and Parsons, and it has roots in anthropology. This perspective focuses on social systems as a whole, how they operate, how they change, and the social consequences they produce. This perspective enables us to see how even the most undesirable aspects of social life, such as war, racism, sexism, are bound up with otherwise normal functioning of societies and their institutions. These insights are especially crucial for those wanting to bring about change. For example, the government or state provides education for the children of a family, which in turn pays taxes on which the state depends to keep itself running. The family is dependent upon the school to help the children grow up to have a good job so that they can raise and support their own families. In the process, the children become law-abiding, tax-paying citizens who in turn support the state. If all goes well, the parts of the society produce order, stability, and productivity. If all does not go well, the parts of the society then must adapt to recapture a new order, stability, and productivity. Functionalism.
Social conflict theory. The social conflict theory says that individuals and groups within society have different, there's limited amounts of material and non-material resources. So the wealthy versus the poor. This comes into, to relate this to the inequalities of social classes. You have the wealthy and the poor. And that the wealthier or the more powerful group uses their power to exploit the less powerful groups, which is the poor class. And so the social conflict theory states that groups within capitalist society tend to interact in a destructive way that allows no mutual benefit and little cooperation.
Okay. A conflict theorist might ask, who benefits from the current higher education system in the US? And this is relating to the points of social institutions of education. The answer for a conflict theorist attuned to the unequal distribution of wealth is the wealthy. After all, higher education in the US is not free. The education system often screens out poorer individuals, not because they are unable to compete academically, but because they cannot afford to pay for their education. Because the poor are unable to obtain higher education, they are generally also unable to get higher paying jobs, and thus they remain poor. Such an arrangement translates into the vicious cycle of poverty. While a functionalist might say that the function of education is to educate the workforce, a conflict theorist might point out that it also has an element of conflict and inequality, favoring one group, the wealthy, over other groups, the poor. Thinking about education in this way helps illustrate why both functionalists and conflict theories are helpful in understanding how society works. It's often important to point out the differences between the three main sociological perspectives. For example, symbolic interactionism is the use of symbols in face-to-face interactions.
You know what, James? You are absolutely right. Functionalism is the second one we have to talk about because you have that macro level and the relationship between the parts of society and how aspects of society are functional, adaptive.
That's interesting because the conflict theory actually talks about the competition for scarce resources and how the elite controlled the poor and the weak. So in conclusion, it's important that we connect our course material with the social perspectives we've talked about, such as conflict theory, functionalism, and symbolic interactionism. They clearly interact with the different social inequalities and different social institutions, such as class, gender, race, and family, education, and religion.